Hello and welcome to our alumni webinar. It's so great to see so many people here already. And as well as our wonderful alumni, we've opened this session up to volunteers and young people who are currently going through this year's programme. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I'm really looking forward to tonight. Joined by Tayla Evans, Managing Director of last year's winning company programme team. She led her team to success at the national finals, and at the European finals, her approach saw her recognised for the Leadership Award. And tonight we are so fortunate to get the opportunity to understand Tayla's journey better. We're going to be talking about all things leadership, enterprise and teamwork. So hello Tayla, it's really great that you're here. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Danielle. I'm really happy to be here and just share my experience with everyone.
Oh, thank you. So, I thought we'd jump straight into the finals. So your team won the national finals and you went to represent the UK in Europe. What was that experience like?
Yeah, honestly, it was just such an incredible experience and it was one that I'll never forget. I think the fact that we worked so hard for such a long period, it was just great to finally get that recognition and win the award. And I think we really got a sense of pride from it as well. So being the first young enterprise team of our school to win, it just felt so incredible to bring home the trophy and really show everyone what we were capable of. And I think support we'd had from so many different companies, it was just great to kind of give back to them and show them that the support and resources they gave us really did come to use and that we were able to change them into a win.
So if we go right back to the beginning, why did you decide to get involved with Young Enterprise?
Yeah, so our school has been running Young Enterprise and involved with it for quite a while. And ever since I was in year 7, I knew it was something I wanted to get involved in because entrepreneurship has always been something I've looked at as a career. And I kind of just saw Young Enterprise as the perfect opportunity to kickstart that career and involvement. So I think all the skills I've learned from it are just great for going on to entrepreneurship. But I think aside from that, all the skills people gain from it, from time management to kind of teamwork, are just so great for when you're applying to universities, apprenticeships and different jobs. So it was something that I really saw would benefit me, and that's why I got involved.
Awesome stuff, awesome. So we got a lot of questions about your product, loads and loads about that. So can you talk us through it? How did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, so it's quite a unique product. I think we get quite a few eyebrows raised when we say we made a tent out of cardboard. But for us, we really wanted to do something that would impact the environment in such a positive way. And being young people, a few of us have been to festivals and we saw kind of the small changes we could make. So kind of plastic straws, for example, that's something that can be changed. But a tent has nearly 9,000 or the equivalent of 9,000 plastic straws in it. And the fact that so many tents are left behind from festivals, about 1 in 4 leave their tent behind, it's such a huge environmental impact in such a short space of time. So we saw that and we just kind of thought, how can we change this and make a positive impact? So we were shifting through lots of different ideas and then it just kind of popped up from nowhere. And we were kind of quite hesitant about the idea because it does seem like a huge challenge. But we saw that the journey that would put us on and all the challenges we'd have to face would give us so many great experiences and learning opportunities. And that's kind of why we went with the project and how we progressed it forwards.
That's so amazing. In terms of with this webinar, we've got students, we've got alumni here. So do you have any tips or advice for any of our students who are about to start their young enterprise journey or any of our alumni that are thinking about setting up a business when it comes to their product choices?
Yeah, I think product was, especially for us, it's one of the hardest things to come up with because especially nowadays it feels like everything's been made already. But I think on the young enterprise journey, you want a project that's going to give you a really good experience and something that isn't going to be plain sailing and easy, but something you'll have challenges with and have to face and get a really good journey from, which is something the judges love to see, I know. And also it will develop you a lot more as a person. So I think that's something you want to do. And also for me, being environmental and considering different kind of how you can bring society like good impacts. So I think that's something good to consider.
Super. What I thought was amazing with EnviroTent, as you mentioned, is the fact that it provides a solution to a big environmental issue. And what we've noticed, particularly with student companies and also with our alumni who then go on to set up business, we're finding that many businesses have sort of social impact, that they're delivering an amazing product and service, but they've got that ethical backing behind it. So how important do you think it is for a business to be socially responsible?
Yeah, I think it's really important because businesses really do lead society. They have such a big influence over what we do. And for example, environmental projects, if businesses aren't coming up with these solutions and giving people the opportunity to implement them in their lifestyles, then nothing will change and we'll keep facing the same issues. So I think it's so important for businesses to make a change. And also, once one business has done something environmental and people start latching onto it and using it, others will have to change too. So I think it's just such an important aspect of businesses.
Yeah, a really, really amazing take on it, actually, and fantastic, because you went on to win the leadership award. And actually, I suppose a big component of leadership is leading by example. So yeah. I guess sort of, rather than just that leadership style, you're sort of leading by example with your product as well, which I really, really love that. So let's talk 2020. I mean, it has been a tough year for everybody. Nobody could have predicted COVID-19. And for you guys setting up a business in the middle of it, it must have been so tough. So how did you respond to this and how did you pull together as a team?
Yes, exactly. It was a very difficult time. So like some simple adaptations we made was moving everything online. So we were still able to have weekly board meetings and kind of keep the progress going. But I think one of the hardest things is keeping everyone motivated. When you're not all physically there together and kind of the real events have been cancelled, we weren't able to go out and do the things that we would have normally done. That's a very difficult challenge. But I think for us, keeping in mind our end goal. So when we first started, we decided that we wanted to win the company programme, which luckily we were able to do. But I think that was a really key thing for us to be able to keep focused. And I think as well, remembering what we had already achieved and kind of giving praise and recognition for that for when times were tough. So we'd known we were able to achieve and we could go on and do more.
That's really great, really, really interesting. And in terms of that motivation, it's great to hear that you were obviously motivated by that thought of winning. Did anything else motivate you, or how else did you find ways to motivate that team, particularly when it dipped?
Yeah, so motivation, again, it's just such a difficult thing, especially with the COVID challenges we faced. But I think for us as well, because we did have such an environmental project, knowing that we wanted to make a social change and really inspire people to be more environmentally friendly, that motivated us to keep going. And having opportunities and people have faith in us. So, for example, when we were in contact with Glastonbury, that was such a big motivation for us because we knew that such a big company kind of was giving us the time and looking at our product. So that really, drove us to go further and motivated us.
Awesome. So, other than COVID, what was the most challenging part of Young Enterprise Programme and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, so again, it would be really easy for me to talk about COVID, but that's not going to be the most beneficial to everyone. So I think just motivation in general, because we are all teenagers at the end of the day, we do have different priorities and other things that we need to do. So I think trying to find a balance of how to keep us motivated for the team was really difficult. And especially keeping a large team focused on the same goal, it's not the easiest thing to do. But kind of to solve this issue, I think just putting in place a really clear structure and breaking down the whole process for how you're going to achieve each goal to make everything just seem that little bit more achievable. And again, just having a really clear target so you have something to focus on really helps bring back the motivation.
Great stuff. So we've spoken about challenges. Which bit did you enjoy the most?
Yeah, so it was all a really good experience, but a bit that stood out for me was definitely the project design. Having an idea that you are just envisioning and seeing this amazing project and then being able to work with designers and bring to life, it's a really cool process to see your dream coming into a reality. So that was really fun and we got to meet some amazing people through that. But another thing I really enjoyed was working with different professionals. So that was a really great way to see insights into different careers and kind of just learning from those people. It was just a really good experience in general.
So you were recognised by JA for your leadership skills. What do you think makes a good leader?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, actually. I think a good leader really needs to understand their people and know that you can't treat everyone the same way. People will be motivated by different things. So kind of getting a feel for your people and engaging with them is a really good way to decide how you need to motivate people and adapt your leadership style and approach to them. But I also really think leading by example is the way to go. They need to see that you're enthusiastic and motivated and that they can copy you and that you're demonstrating the way to go. And again, I just think that giving people kind of a good role and showing them that they're valued and important to you and the business, that's a really good way to motivate people and be a good leader.
That's so interesting and a really, really great point there. Has leadership been something that's come naturally to you, or is this something that you developed on the way, or did your mentor really help you with this?
Yeah, I think I have always had a good kind of natural leadership, but Young Enterprise has really enabled me to develop it. And I think my business advisor and teacher were a great asset to me. So they really did steer me in the right direction and gave me tips on how to be a good leader. So I think it's kind of a mixture and combination of things.
What does the future look like for Team EnviroTent?
Yeah, I think Team EnviroTent have all got a really bright future. The skills that everyone's been able to gain will really push them in the future. And kind of just, again, like for applying for universities, apprenticeships and careers, they've got such a good foundation now. And I think being exposed to different careers and kind of professionals is a really great mind opener for everyone, and they can see different career paths that are available to them.
Now, we do have a few students who started the Young Enterprise programme and they're here today, which is awesome. So if you have one piece of advice to anybody starting out, what would it be?
Yeah, it's hard to narrow it down to just one, but I would say a really key thing is forward planning and kind of creating a clear timeline and structure for how you're going to achieve every goal along the way. That's kind of the most important thing to keep you organised and on track. But then straying from that almost, it's embracing your mistakes and knowing that you will make mistakes, you are human at the end of the day, and kind of not beating yourself up over those, because I think that's something I struggled with, but just knowing that you will make mistakes and learning from them, that's a really key piece of advice I'd give.
Fantastic, fantastic. So brilliant answers there, and I'm now going to start looking at the questions we got from the audience. But just a quick reminder, if anybody's thought of something as we're chatting, if you want to put it in the Q&A, it'd be brilliant to cover those as well. So our first question from the audience, has doing Young Enterprise changed you, and if yes, how?
Yeah, so Young Enterprise has 100% changed me. It's really changed kind of my attitudes in life. It's just made me a lot more of a confident person. And when I see challenges now, I don't kind of stray away from them as much, because I know there's ways around them and that I can overcome it. So I think that's really changed me, but also kind of put me onto new opportunities. So since Young Enterprise, I've joined Danielle on the Young Enterprise Alumni Forum, which is just an amazing opportunity. And it's just opened me up to a lot more people that I've got to learn from and kind of just engage in. So it's definitely changed me for the better.
One of the brilliant things about you, Tayla, is that you say yes to opportunities, and I definitely think, you know, when looking back at your journey, that really, you know, must have contributed to your ability to succeed. So yeah, it's awesome. Our next question, how do we, so this is by a student, how do we get the most out of this experience, and how can we use it to our advantage in future life?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, because you will get a lot out of it. And I think bringing off what Danielle's just said, saying yes to opportunities, because things might seem a bit scary. So when I was asked to do this webinar, it does seem a bit nerve-wracking, but just saying yes to things will really help you get the most out of it and learning from it. And I'd also say just using your business advisor and teacher, because they've probably done this hundreds of times over and they really know how to get the most out of it and how to how you can grow as a person. And again, when you come across people, so you might go for like a meeting with someone, just getting their contact details, that will really help you for future if you want to go back and do work experience or something. So making good connections now early on, I think that's good for getting the most out of it.
Oh, amazing stuff, amazing stuff. We got a lot of questions, as well as the product. We got a lot of questions about working as a team. So what do you think are the most important things with working with people?
Yes, I think one of the most important things is having good communication. You all need to know what you're doing and what needs to be done. So one thing that I did was create a project plan. So it's essentially just a timeline of everything that needed to be done, who would be responsible for that, and kind of days where we check in on it. And I think that's really good. But also, when you are working with people, especially teenagers, just knowing that they are human and will make mistakes, I think that's quite a key thing. And rather than kind of going in and like just criticizing someone if it's not done on time, asking them why and kind of helping them develop. So I think that's a really key point.
And actually building on that, Tayla, the next question we got is, how did you resolve any conflicts? I mean, I'm not sure whether there were any conflicts, but if there were conflicts, how did you resolve them?
Yeah, we definitely did have a few conflicts, but I think so we had a HR department, and I think that's a really good thing because you don't want your friendship to start mixing in with the business that you're creating, because that can get quite difficult. So I think having a clear kind of discipline structure, or like kind of something to resolve your conflicts, that's really good to keep it professional and kind of separate the friendship from the business, and just making sure it all goes through the HR and listening to people. I think that's really good to resolve conflicts.
That's brilliant advice. What about your delegation skills? What was that like? How did you delegate the roles and the tasks within the business?
Yeah, so I think I found it really easy to take on a bit too much. That was something I struggled with, and I would definitely say don't do that because you can't do it all. So just kind of setting departments really, so like a HR department, marketing, finance, sales, and then having the set tasks that they need to do. And again, a project plan, which we did, that will really help you see which department needs to do it. And then within that department, their director can kind of delegate those roles out, so it's really going through a clear structure and system.
We've kind of touched on the next question a little bit around motivation, but
Yeah.
What methods did you find most effective when it came to keeping people focused and engaged with their objectives, and both like pre-lockdown and post-lockdown?
Yeah, so I think one of the main things is at the start, really define your end goal and what it is you want to achieve. So whether it's selling 100 of your products or making £1,000 profit, or for us it was winning the company program. And then that will really give you a sense of direction and focus when you're on your journey. And if you need to write this somewhere big or like just stick it on a wall, that will really help you. But I'd say when people start to lack motivation or start to lose focus, it can be really good actually if you give them a bit more responsibility and make them feel valued, because everyone just wants to feel important. I think that's something I've learned. So if you really do show them that they're valued and maybe give them a new role or a task to complete, that will help them get more motivation and focus.
Oh, I love that. Is there anything you would have done differently, either with the product or the process of running your company?
That is a very good question, and especially now that I've finished the company program and I can look back on it, I think something I would have done differently is probably not take on as much, because as I said previously, I did take on a lot of tasks, and I think maybe it's because I am a bit of a perfectionist, but I would have liked to delegate a bit more and not try and do everything. So I think that's probably something I would have changed. And also, yeah, not being so naive, I guess, because we will have conflicts and there will be people not doing stuff that they should be doing. And I think just not being so easy with it, I guess, because it is very easy to let people slip with things, but you have to kind of knuckle down at times.
So what did you do to become a successful managing director?
Yeah, it always feels strange when people ask that, but I think for me, one of the key things was seeing my team and seeing strengths that they had, even if they didn't know it. And if we had some quiet people, for example, who weren't really as outgoing as others and were a bit shy, seeing their potential and really helping them develop themselves. I think that was the key thing for me to be successful. So I'll give a little example of our company secretary. I'm sure she won't mind me saying, but she was quite shy to begin with, but she did have a lot of potential and she really was a capable person. So for me, helping her bring that out really did spur me on, and her as well, and develop the team. So again, just giving them more responsibility and ways to improve themselves and create more confidence for them.
That's a really great advice there. Next question's really interesting and quite, really difficult actually. So especially when you're in that moment, how do you know that you're doing your best in your specific role in the company? So I imagine sort of sometimes that self-assessment can be quite tough.
Oh wow, yeah, that is a really good question. So one thing that you can do as the managing director, if you want to assess other people's, is an appraisal. So that's something I carried out within the first month or two to see how everyone was doing. And I think, so I got everyone to write their own kind of self-report. And I think that's a good way for them to see what they are doing and what they could improve on, and really be critical on yourself, not too harsh because you will be doing a good job, but just seeing where you can improve and areas where you might not be pushing yourself too much, but also remembering that you do have other things that you need to focus on as well, like your schoolwork. So you might think you're not giving it your full potential, but you do have other things that you need to be doing as well.
Yeah, and that's a really great point, and in fact that takes us nicely to the next question, which is about that schoolwork and the education, trying to juggle that with starting a company. So was time management difficult, and if so, how did you actually manage to balance it?
Yeah, it can be quite difficult because it's quite a long period of time you're doing enterprise for. It's almost kind of the entire of your school year. So it can be quite difficult to balance the schoolwork, activities you may be doing outside of school, and then running the business. So again, I'll go back to the project plan I spoke about earlier. That's a really good way to set out all your tasks that need to be done and delegate them to everyone in the business, so that it's a very fair balance and you're not going to have any unexpected tasks just spring up on you because you've already got that timeline almost of what you need to do.
I like that. Yeah, I really like that. And I guess it's about, I suppose, making sure everyone's aware of their expectations right from the start, isn't it? And once you've got that bit set, I guess it sets the scene for everything to come. Another question we got is, how do you get customers?
Yeah, that is a really good question. So I think the first thing you want to do is decide whether you're going to sell business to consumer or business to business. So for us, we decided business to business would be the most appropriate. So I think deciding that first is the key thing. And then going through the contacts you already have. So your business advisor will be such a great asset, as really was, and put us onto so many different companies. And then speaking to parents, teachers, family, friends who may know people they can put you onto. And then I think speaking to the companies themselves. So say if you're wanting to do water bottles, you might go out and ring Asda, for example, or just try to arrange meetings with them and just have that initial meeting where you can decide with them. And even if they're not going to buy your product, just get advice from them on how you can do things. But I definitely say 100% utilise your business advisor.
That's brilliant advice. What about other supporters? Did you get any assistance from family or friends? I know you've mentioned them there about the tapping into the contacts, but did they help in any other way?
Yeah, so we had a lot of help from our business advisor, and kind of the contacts she put us onto, we really utilised. So a company we worked really closely with was Inspired Thinking Group, and they helped us right until the end of our European finals. But we actually got in contact with them through an event from Young Enterprise called Fox's Lair, where we went and pitched our idea. And rather than just going away after that event with the feedback they gave us on our product, we stayed in contact. And then someone from that panel actually put us in contact with Glastonbury. So I think just every person you meet, you need to keep in contact with, because you never know who they might know.
Oh, amazing. Thinking about the current students about to set off on their journey, what do you think that some of the problems that this or challenges that this group might face, especially related to COVID, and do you have any advice about how they can combat this?
Yeah, so I think COVID is going to be a bit of a challenge, and especially not being able to go to the real events and pitch your idea in person. I think that's just quite a demotivating factor because that's a big part of the experience in previous years. So I think, again, just reminding yourself of a goal, really setting out what you want to achieve, whether it's, reduce plastic waste at an event by X amount or something like that. You really need that different goal rather than just gaining all experiences from young enterprise, because the reality is, as sad as it is, the likelihood is that events aren't going to go ahead as usual. So I think just finding an alternative goal to focus on.
I like that. Yeah, you've obviously got your outcome goals and then your performance goals to wrap it around, and I think it is so important to set both of those. What do you think is the best way to ensure all your team's ideas and plans are listened to and not just be overshadowed by one person's idea?
Yeah, so I think that's really good, especially depending on how large your team is. In board meetings, if you're putting ideas out there, if you've got shy people and then you've got those who are quite confident and often speak a lot in the meetings, it can be quite difficult for those who are shy to kind of put their ideas to the table. So I think maybe giving everyone a chance to speak and going around the room and letting everyone share their ideas and not putting anyone down when they say something, because no idea is a bad idea. Thinking of a project or ideas or names, anything like that, it's not an easy task, so you'll want to engage everyone. So I think having a system where you go around and listen to everyone, maybe if you have got shy people, you'll have written suggestions or something like that, so it's not as intimidating for everyone.
Oh, great. I love that, particularly about writing and finding a different format to put those across.
Yeah.
Now, another question or another topic that we got quite a lot of questions on was all around marketing. And I know you've mentioned how valuable networking was for your marketing strategy. But do you have any other advice on marketing the company, the product, and social media in particular? Did you find that useful?
Yeah, social media I think is just such a great tool nowadays. It's so affordable and well, it's practically no price. So I think it's a great way to reach a mass amount of people. And I'd suggest setting up Instagram, Twitter accounts and just following so many people. And Twitter for us was actually really key, especially when we got to the European stage and we're looking for votes. So we contacted and shared our product with a lot of different kind of environmentalists, and we ended up having marine biologists and environmentalists with like 40,000 followers sharing our page. So that's a really good way to get engagement. And I'd also say with your physical marketing, kind of thinking outside the box. So we were thinking of sending out leaflets to companies and festival organisers, but we thought, how's that really going to grab their attention? They probably have loads of leaflets come through every day. So we worked with Inspired Thinking Group to make tiny models of our tents. So we made tiny cardboard tents that we planned to send out before COVID with our marketing material inside. So just thinking of something more engaging that will really grab people's attention. I think that's a really key thing for marketing.
That's such a neat idea. I love that. It's really, really cool. Another question, again, lots and lots of people really, really interested in your product. It really was fantastic. But how did you come about finding the sources to make it? It's quite a unique product, not been done before.
Yeah, so I think that was quite difficult trying to find someone who would make a cardboard tent because it hasn't really been done before. So we really utilised our business advisor, as I've said before, and she actually put us onto a company called McFarlane Packaging. So we went with them and kind of went to an innovation centre to design the tent and just kind of draw out some initial plans. And we were fortunate enough that they would put us onto a manufacturer, but also someone in our team, so again a family member of their family, worked in a cardboard manufacturing company. So that was just so lucky and convenient. So they put us onto that manufacturing company and we were able to kind of get the best of both and really compare them. So I think just talking to contacts and maybe just researching. And if you are going to find a company and research them, maybe just call them up and tell them what you're doing. You know, Young Enterprise is a charity. And when you mention that, they'll normally be more than likely to help and just willing to, give you some advice. So I think that's a really key part.
In terms of you sort of mentioned that when you started your program that you wanted to win, you wanted to get to that national finals, you wanted to win at the UK level. You created a plan, but what else can you do to try and ensure that you make it through all the rounds and get there?
Yeah, that is a really good question, because obviously everyone wants to know the secrets to winning, but there isn't a definite answer I can give you. There's nothing that stood out to me of how we won, but I think just looking at the criteria of the judges. So I think on the Young Enterprise website, there's the judging criteria. So when you are deciding your project or making your marketing material or doing videos, just looking at that and deciding what is it the judges will want. But also a crucial thing that I do think did help us win was having a project that was unique and would give us a journey. So I think you could choose a project that's going to be really simple and you'll sail through and sell loads of, but the judges don't necessarily want to see that. They want to see that you face challenges and be resilient and overcome it. So I think that's a really key thing for having a winning business. It's just overcoming challenges all the time.
Did you all stick to your roles, or did anybody sort of change roles halfway through or start doing other tasks?
Yeah, we had a role switch very early on, actually. So our company secretary decided that it wasn't the right role for them, and you will have that because no one's ever tried these things before, so it's good to be flexible. So we had a new company secretary step in, but then also as we went along, we found that some departments needed a bit more support. So I put out deputies for those departments and just gave them the support they needed. So I think that's really good, but just being flexible with your roles, because it doesn't need to be really strict. If people want to try out something new, it's good to let them do that and learn the experiences.
Yeah, amazing. Somebody wanted to know whether you made a profit at the end.
So unfortunately, because the festivals were cancelled, we weren't able to sell our tents. But in the beginning, to raise our capital, we sold brochures for Christmas advertising. So we made a decent amount of profit from that, and then obviously because we won, we got the prize money. So we did end up making money. Yeah.
The other one was, what would you say is the best and most efficient way to manage finances for a business? Now, I know you obviously weren't in the finance department, but is there anything that you could sort of maybe suggest or recommend here?
Yeah, so managing the finances is a really important aspect of the business, and Young Enterprise have a great tool on the website when you are doing it, where you're putting everything that you've spent, everything that you've earned. So that's a really good tool to just keep topping up and keeping, up to date, because you really need to make sure that everything's, correct and fair. So I just think utilising the Young Enterprise tools is the main thing there.
And did you feel that the competitions on the way to the UK finals, did you feel that they were really helpful in terms of you learning what to do and how to get better?
Yeah, they really were. After every competition, we kind of improved a bit more, and because we'd seen what the judges had wanted almost, and you can go back and make changes to your company report and just polish it off almost, and kind of you will learn from every stage of the competition how to get that little bit better.
Oh, amazing. This is super. Well, I don't have any more questions for you. So do you have any points or advice or suggestions that you think we've not covered that you want to share with our students, volunteers and alumni?
Yeah, I think the questions have been really good, definitely challenged me. I think just final advice I give is to enjoy the Young Enterprise experience. It can seem at times really overwhelming, but just all the experiences you'll gain from it are just so beneficial, and the good points really do outweigh the hard times. So just going in there with an open mind, saying yes to opportunities, that will be the best way to enjoy your Young Enterprise experience.
I love it. It's one of my favourite things in the world, saying yes to opportunities. So amazing. Tayla, thank you so much for your insight into your experiences last year. It's been an absolute privilege to speak to you. And thank you everyone for joining us and making it so engaging. It's been great, the questions that we had sent through in advance. And I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I have. So thank you everybody, and have a wonderful evening.